Because you were also talking about like adjusting like after college and figuring out how to train on your own, like professional leagues and whatnot. But we hadn't reached an agreement with USA Hockey for more support until 2017.
Yeah.
And when did you graduate? 09, I was looking?
2009.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a treat.
How I can't even imagine, how were you able to continue to train at the highest level and be one of the best defensemen in the world and compete while basically living off like what, $2,000 a month we got to train?
Yeah, and not taxed, and that came up to
for 8 years. For 8 years.
Yeah, and it was tough because it wasn't taxed, so I never knew anything about money. We never were taught how to take care of our money. That was one of the biggest things. I look back and say, I wish USA Hockey would just like teach us like how to handle this money and what to do. But I was living in Boston. The rent was crazy, so I had to live with 5 other people in order to just like balance that money out. And then you're spending all your money on basically training and chiro and massage because none of that was covered. So there were times where we weren't getting paid exactly the first of the month. Sometimes our checks would come on the 7th or the 16th. And I'm like, Mom, I got to pay rent. Can you, Venmo me or like like whatever that we had back then, or just give me cash to give my landlord. And then I'll give you the money when my check comes in. So basically every month it was catch up. My mom gave me money quickly for rent. My check would come in. $600 would go right to my mom. So then I'm like pinching pennies for the next 3 weeks. And so it was just a battle financially. And over time, I knew that I had to, take on another job and make more money. So I coached at Merrimack College 15, 16 year. And it was tough to balance work and training.
And you're gone for months at a time.
Right.
Like, it's hard to do any normal job. You almost need somebody, an employer who's like willing to work with you.
Totally.
In your schedule.
And that was the priority. So Merrimack was my priority. So if I had a Boston Pride game or like a game that weekend and Merrimack was playing, I would have to miss that game. And that was just how it is. So it was really tough for your development aspect and your training aspect. And at the same time, in the mornings, I wasn't training at the gym with my teammates. I was going in at 5 o'clock in the morning and just training on my own. So it was an adjustment, but I think that it really helped me hone in on like that discipline and what really matters. So it was something I needed to do, but financially, I'm glad we went into the direction that we did and fought for what we needed.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I personally like graduated after that. I remember sitting in my college dorm room, like pre-World Championships in 2017, when we were starting to go through our negotiations, and we were talking about boycotting our Worlds on home soil. This was the only leverage we had.
Yeah.
And I just remember being a younger kid thinking like, oh my gosh, like, are we just not going to go? Like, what's happening? Like, is it that big of a deal? And just hearing you guys lead the way and hear about your experiences, it was monumental to be able to achieve that. So I guess from your side, being an older player, like in 2017, like that boycott and just heading late to the Worlds and then winning, like what was that whole experience like for you?
Yeah, crazy, because it really started like 2 years before that, when we were having all those meetings. We were talking about it. We were preparing for it. It was in people's ears. But like, your first Worlds was 2015?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like, you kind of have solidified yourself already. You've understood the process. And then once this really came on heavy, you were probably like, awesome, like I'm going to follow suit. But like, players that was their first World Championship, that's hard to swallow. Like Callie Flanagan, I remember, like, I feel so bad because she was going to camps, and then she finally made this Worlds, but we're going to boycott and maybe not play, and that might be her only opportunity. So you really felt for players like that, but you kind of had to look at the greater good, because they tried to do it back in '98 and they couldn't do it, and it was all because of unity and people weren't together. In our situation, the leaders that we had at that time, we had like a core of like 8 to 10 people. That it was just, that is the reason why I feel like we were able to deliver the message to the younger girls and have them understand, okay, if this is going to happen, it's going to happen now. And it was for the best, right? I think that looking back, that was probably one of the most talented, skilled teams that we ever had stepping on that ice for that 2017 World Championships. How good were we?
I mean,
Like,
we missed the whole
unbelievable.
pre-camp. We were talking about this, like, we didn't go to camp. We're just waiting, sitting around, and then we show up, and we're like, all right, let's play.
Well, that was probably half the
Worlds.
part. I mean, we go to those camps and we get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, let's throw
Conditioning
in
tests.
everything. Whereas if you're doing those things along the way, you go to these camps and you're just like, okay, let's, get prepared to go to these world championships, not kill the kids and the girls at this time. So I felt like mentally it helped us out so much because we just went to Michigan and stepped
Yeah.
on the ice and played.
It was almost like that feeling like we have to win now. Like,
Absolutely.
you can't show up late to a Worlds and not perform.
Yeah, totally. And we had the support, right? All the little girls with the signs, like the sold out arena, like we felt it.
Yeah.
And I think that just having that support and unity around not just the fans, but all the women that got asked to play for us and they said no. And that is a statement. And that is something that is going to go down in my heart as like just the most historic thing that we've ever done.
Yeah, I don't even think people realize yet how big that was. And I don't know, I honestly don't know when that would have happened again if it didn't happen in 2017. Like you said, we boycotted as a team, but I don't think people realize that we had to have boycott, like the entire nation had to boycott.
Totally.
Otherwise, they were going to take any team to world championships.
Right. They asked anyone, D3, like anyone. And I'm like, oh my God, where's the respect?
You
like
play
for
hockey?
us? Like not
Suit
even
up.
caring if we put a team in there and they lost and they were last place. They didn't care. And that was the thing that hurt the most. We were like, man, we are on an island, and if we can get out of this on top, it's going to be a statement.
And I think we've come so far now, which is awesome to see. There's still a ways to go.
Yeah.
But I think that was a huge step in the right direction to be able to do that. And like Kess was saying, like, we don't get that done without the right leaders in the room, you guys that are on the phone
Yeah.
day in and day out calling every hockey player that lives in the U.S. saying,
Yeah.
telling our story and saying, will you please like stand with us? And
Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing is we divided all D1, D3 coaches, NCAA, youth, like anyone. And we had to just say, listen, this is what our vision is and this is our goal.
Yeah.
And please, if this is going to work and, we're going to be successful with this, you have to just say no. And it's going to be beneficial for not our generation. Yeah, we might get a little extra money, but it's for those girls like coming on the national team now, 5 years from now. That's where the difference is going to be and you're going to see.